all she did was walk away. I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay, though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat because it doesn't curve, the water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay, though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
Good rising, everyone, and welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with me, Karen B., and Just Jack Flat Earth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
How's it going?
Okay. Chat was throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to let people know what's going on, for the next few weeks, we are wrapping up the book of Exodus, and what it is the construction of the tabernacle is the remaining 4 chapters. So what I'd like to do is quickly read through the chapter, and then we'll go to chat. And if people want to discuss anything within the first, I'll let people ask whatever. I mean, we tried to like limit it, but people are going to always have questions about something. And just to reiterate, they are my opinions based on my study of the scriptures. It's not based on any religious format. So if you think that I'm speaking outside of this religion or that religion, it's because I am. I don't belong to any religion. Okay? And what I think has happened, because I'm seeing a lot of things come up recently where people are reinterpreting the Bible, but they're doing it. It's kind of like the whole thing with space, right? So they start with the false axiom that the Earth is a sphere, and then move on to explain the vacuum of space and orbits and blah, 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 blah. And they just got to keep building on it and building on it and building on it, but they're starting with a false axiom. When people are getting into re-looking at the scripture, they're looking at it through the eyes as if theology of any religion is the interpreter of the scriptures. So then they use that as their base axiom and move on from there. So, like, for instance, a lot of people think that, not a lot of people think, I shouldn't say that as making it that large because it's a very small group of people, but they think that the Bible was based on the lights in the sky, when the opposite is true. The lights in the sky were written by the Creator who wrote the scriptures. So, of course, you're going to see the parallel with the lights in the sky because the Creator says, the end has been revealed from the beginning. The lights in the sky tell the story. It's good. It's something that shows the pattern of this world. So the lights in the sky and the world have a very much connection. There's not a disconnect. So when they say that, they just wrote this analogy story for the lights in the sky, no, the lights in the sky tell you what actually occurs in these cycles of the earth. So
11,
that's
11.
my opinion.
11:11 on 2:11.
11:11. All right. Just Jack's disclaimer to the religious. If you believe it's wrong to study the scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scripture shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. To others, if you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then the stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for root words as well as context from a non-religion perspective. We will as well have life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how religions contradict the scriptures. So, yeah, I've had a lot of discussion this week about, people who are saying, well, you're studying a book that was written based on sky study, right? And then they made up these long stories to coordinate with the sky. That is true in the case of the Pantheon, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the Pantheon, yeah, all the stars are connected to different deities, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the reversal. But it says in the scriptures that those lights in the sky are for our signs, our seasons, our days and years, which is actually our markers, our moedim, appointed times, our light cycles, and our repeats cycles. So it's something that repeats over and over. We all know this. This is one of the greatest proofs of a stationary Earth that we have, is that the sky repeats every day, every year,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, all
right. So, and what was last week? Oh yeah, Sabbath regulations.
Yeah, do not kindle a fire on your Sabbath. And we had a discussion about what about doing this to heat food on the Sabbath? What about that to heat food on the Sabbath? And we went back to Exodus 16, I think it is, where it talks about you prepare everything, a double portion on the 6th day, and carry it over to the 7th.
And contributions.
Yep. So contributions were okay. So there were a couple of guys that were possessed, if you will. they were filled with the Spirit. The Spirit came upon them, whatever you want to call it, right? They were Spirit filled with information of how to be a master of all trades,
Mm-hmm.
of building and sculpting and art and everything you could imagine that it would take to, make this tabernacle. It was
Right.
downloaded to them, which would be insane and awesome.
And it was all and I really thought the cool part about it is that none of it was required. It was all like those who felt motivated to do so. So it was like it's all
Yes.
voluntarist.
Yes. Yeah, and what we're going to see in the next chapter here, that the initial response of the people, they brought exactly what was needed, but then they got excited and it wouldn't stop. So we're going to see that in the next chapter.
Awesome. All right, because it ends with the beginning of the construction of the tabernacle.
That's correct.
All right.
And tabernacle, of course, it's literally tent of meeting. But tabernacle is a word that, was established in the, allegedly in the Middle Ages, the word tabernacle.
All right. It's weird too. So this is like a new chapter, but then there's like no title at the beginning of this one. It is weird how
Because
they break it up.
it's a continuation of the
Yeah.
of the previous heading, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
I think
weird.
I don't know if you're going to scroll down and now go to 37 and scroll down. Okay. So yeah, for 2 chapters it's talking about the making of the tabernacle, but then the next one, making of the ark, making of the table, it's still part of making of the tabernacle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those are just the parts that go in the tabernacle. So
Right. Okay. All right. And Betzalel, and Oholiav, and every wise-hearted man in whom Jehovah has given wisdom and understanding to know how to do all work for the service of the set-apart place, shall do according to all that Jehovah has commanded.
So these are not men who are trained in these things. It was what was downloaded by the Creator to give them wisdom to do. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's the wise intent or the wise heart. Yeah.
I also find it interesting that it's wise-hearted.
Yes. Yep.
And Moshe called...
Not wise brained.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's not literally the heart, but it's the
well, your
right,
heart,
it's the intent.
Well, then I consider it like your heart field, your toroidal field is how you're uploading and downloading information from the ether. Like that's it's like a form of communication. Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
Agreed. Yeah, because that's where, right, it's the central location of your true spirit self, not your physical self.
Right.
Yeah.
And Moshe called Betzalel and Oholiav and every wise-hearted man into whose heart Jehovah had given wisdom, everyone whose heart lifted him up to come and do the work.
And again, heart isn't intent. I just got to keep iterating that so that when you see the word heart, you're not thinking of the blood pumping organ. You're thinking of that intent, energy, right?
Mm-hmm. And they received from Moshe all the contribution which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of making the set-apart place, but they still brought to him voluntary offerings every morning.
So they already brought what was needed, but then they kept bringing them more stuff every morning.
Mm-hmm. So all the craftsmen who were doing all the work of the set-apart place came, each from the work he was doing.
Yeah, let me jump in here really quick. So, where it says doing all the work, it's all Malach. Okay, so this Malach is the same as angel, messenger, the carry worker. Okay, So if they translate it as angel right here, people might get it twisted, right? But this is the point. Like whenever we see, like, and my angel will go before you, right? where it could just be my messenger, my one who carries out the work, just generally it's the one who does the work for the message or the job being sent out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important that people like get it out of their head of what they think they know what an angel is, because that's something that's definitely twisted within religion. So, let's put it this way. If the Creator inspires you to do something that is in the will of the Creator, you are a messenger of the Creator, right? Because you're carrying out the work of the Creator. So you're an angel, if you want to say that, because angelos came from the Greek, and it's a completely different philosophy of what an angel actually is, a messenger actually is. So, like when you get to, and I'm way off the subject here, but when you get into the Revelation where it says it was given to the angels of this church and that church and this church to bring a message from John on Patmos. Well, actually, John on Patmos probably wrote down his vision, gave it to actual human messengers to go bring that message to that building of people, that group of people, right? So it's not like, why would the Creator give a message to a human man to deliver to an angel? That makes no sense.
Right.
But it does make sense if the Creator gave the message to John, and John gave it to actual messengers to bring the message to that assembly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the idea of messenger is the one who carries out the work.
All right. And they spoke to Moshe, saying, "The people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which Jehovah commanded us to do."
we got too much stuff now.
Yeah. Then Moshe commanded, and they sent this word throughout the camp, saying, "Let neither man nor woman do any more work for the contribution of the set-apart place." And the people were withheld from bringing. For what they had was enough for all the work to be done, more than enough.
More than enough, yeah. So, chill out, guys.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good. It says they were saturated in sufficiency.
Saturated in sufficiency.
Yeah. They were inked. Yeah.
Then all the wise-hearted ones among them who worked on the dwelling place made 10 curtains woven of fine linen and blue and purple and scarlet material. They made them with cherubim, the work of a skilled workman.
Yep. Cherubim. Yeah, it's the word that we get cherubim from, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they give us a different portrayal of this. Like when you think of cherubim now, you see little naked babies with wings flying around.
Right.
That's not the idea. It's winged something, right? But they're abundant, whatever that means.
The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, all the curtains having one measure. And he joined 5 curtains, one to another, and the other 5 curtains he joined one to another. And he made loops of blue on the edge of the end curtain of one set. The same he did on the edge of the end curtain of the other set.
And this blue is Techelet, which is supposed to represent the sapphire throne room floor, which we wear in tzitzit.
50 loops he made.
Which are just for people who to know, it's tassels, tzitzit.
Okay. 50 loops he made on one curtain, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the end curtain of the second set. The loops held one curtain to another. And he made 50 hooks of gold and joined the curtains to each other with the hooks, and the dwelling place became one.
So going back to Project 314, there's a nice depiction of how this would work if it was a dome structure where it uses all the ingredients described within these chapters. And can you imagine these giant curtains being held together with gold rings? I mean, it must have been a sight to see for sure. And gold, yeah.
Yeah.
not just any metal, it's gold. So like
Mm-hmm.
the high conducting
Right.
material.
And he made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the dwelling place. He made 11 curtains.
It could just be strong fabric, not necessarily goat's hair.
The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, and 11 curtains having one measure. And he joined 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops on the edge of the end curtain in one set, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain of the second set. And he made 50 bronze hooks to join the tent to be one. And he made a covering for the tent of ram's skin, dyed red, and a covering of fine leather above that. And for the dwelling place he made boards of acacia wood standing up. The length of each board was 10 cubits, and the width of each board a cubit and a half. Each board had 2 tenons for binding one to another, so he did to all the boards of the dwelling place. And he made boards for the dwelling place, 20 boards for the south side. And he made 40 sockets of silver to go under the 20 boards, and 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the other side of the dwelling place, for the north side, he made 20 boards. And there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under the other board. And he made 6 boards for the west side of the dwelling place, and he made 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the dwelling place, and they were double beneath, and similarly they were complete to the top by 1 ring. So he did to both of them for the 2 corners. And there were 8 boards and their silver sockets, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the dwelling place, and 5 boards for the boards on the other side of the dwelling place, and 5 bars for the boards on the dwelling place at the rear westward. And he made the middle bar to pass through the boards from one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold and their rings, and he made of gold to be holders for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold.
So what isn't good enough? It had to be overlaid with gold.
And he made a veil of blue and purple and scarlet material and fine-worked linen. It was made with cherubim, the work of a skilled workman.
All right. So how can curtains be made with cherubim? It's embroidery. That's what it is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
How do you get
Yeah,
that?
because it talks about him being the embroiderer. And then, so you have these giant curtains that actually have depictions of cherubim on them. So that's another thing that is often missed in the depictions of the tabernacle when they make the giant rectangle in the desert picture.
Mm-hmm.
They never show any curtains with any of the embroidery on it, which is like, obviously something that's included in there.
Huh. And he made 4 columns of acacia wood for it, and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets of silver for them. And he made a covering for the tent door of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen made by a weaver. And its 5 columns with their hooks, and he overlaid their tops and their rings with gold, but their 5 sockets were of bronze.
Yay! All right. Yeah, it's going to be like this for a little bit, but the important thing to notice is that the creator downloaded the information to Moshe first. This is how you're going to have to build the tabernacle. And then it was this detailed, right, that it was downloaded to another man. So not only does he get the information, but he gets to see how it's supposed to all lay out. So, I drew drawings for engineers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you could write down the description of everything you're going to do in the project. But when you don't actually see what it actually is until it gets put together, which is why drawings, blueprints are very important, because you get a visualization of the begin and end process of what the development's going to be, right? So imagine, like, we're reading all this description, but we're not seeing how it's being put together,
Right.
right? And that's why I think that, the Project 314 thing is a good way to give us another perspective of how it could work. And I love what he did is that he actually went through this fine-tooth comb and, like, piece by piece, he modeled piece by piece of everything included in here. And then he says, okay, if you put it all together like this, then you get this perfect dome shape with this opening in the roof that gets covered with another curtain. And I mean, it's just, for me, it sits well.
Yeah. And if
from an engineering standpoint.
And if anybody was at Flattoberfest 2023, then you saw the little model. The model he made, the scale size model he made, he had on the tabletop. It was really cool.
Yeah, and he also had, like, books and books and books of plans.
Oh yeah,
he's been drawings busy of all these pieces.
He's been busy.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
They're really good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing people Dome Tabernacle for sure. Project 314 Dome Tabernacle.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see here. Scrolling through chat. It figures, like, today, when we don't have much meat in the chapter, that nobody has any questions.
Yeah.
Saturated Insufficiency should be a band name. Yeah, it sounds pretty good too.
Sylvia says,
dude, did you see Saturated Insufficiency?
Sylvia says, Andrew Hoy is hosting a Levite Boot Camp live Zoom Tabernacle webinar Saturday nights, February 25th through April 8th.
Thank you for that input. I will check that out. Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe it's on his website. Let's see. Let me open it real quick. What's his website? Project314.com?
I think it's org.
Oh, yeah. There it is. Project314.org. Yes. Yes. It's right on the front page of his website. There's a little link there to register. For those interested.
Live Zoom Tabernacle webinar.
And
Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm. I'll put a link here in the chat for y'all. For anybody who's interested in that, go check it out.
It's groovy.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So nobody is has any questions or okay. What is Kerovim? Yeah, I think we already talked about that. The depiction is typically a large man with wings. Yeah. What is actually meant by only begotten son? Okay, so we are all sons of Elohim according to the Old Testament. Okay, those who join themselves to the Creator are sons of Elohim, but the only begotten son is, portrayed as the only one who was born of the seed of the Creator. So you could say that Adam was the first begotten of Yah, but he couldn't be because he wasn't born from a womb. He was born from the dust of the earth. So the first one that was born from the womb would have been the only begotten son. So if that's what you were asking. And definitely that's not in the the context of the of the Torah. So buying tsitsi or making your own. Okay, good. Good question. We're not there yet. I mean, we're that comes in Numbers, but we can go there really quick. If you go to Numbers 15, verse 38.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. And I did a 40 slip of my own. I just said, ma'am, you're not my master, which ma'am means you're my female master. But Numbers 15.
15, okay.
38.
38.
Down towards the very bottom. So here is where seat first mentioned. And if you could pull up the HSBR, okay, so it says, speak to children of Israel, and speak, not bid, but speak that they make, right there.
Mm-hmm.
To do or make, right? So even it says there, make, right? So that's not purchasing tzitzit, okay? The fringes on the borders, the kanaf, the wings of their garments throughout the generations. That means it's an everlasting rule for those who join themselves to the Creator. And they put, so if you look there where it says they put, it's actually Natan, which Natan is gift. So if you click on that number and define it, 5414, it's a gift, right? To give. So it's not just put on the garment, it's a gift to your garment. In other words, the way that I do it, the way that Jack does it, is every pair of pants that I buy, I actually tie a set of tzitzit on them, and they are a gift to those pants. They never come off. They're literally braided onto the belt loops of my pants. They don't go anywhere. So they are a gift to my clothing. And it says upon the fringes, that's not right, upon the fringes. It's just tzitzit of the kanaf, which is the wings, a ribbon or a braid cord of blue, techelet. Okay, so number one, you're making it yourself. Number two, it's a gift to your garment. Number three, it must include a cord of blue. Now, if you really want to piss off some religious people who wear tzitzit, they usually wear them all white because they argue about the blue. So they say, oh, since we can't figure out which blue to use, we'll just use all white. It will upset them, number one, that you're wearing tzitzit, because that's only for the special people. I'm not going to say the name. And if you're wearing the blue, it's going to upset them even more. But if you really want to upset them, I've made sets of tzitzit that was all black with a cord of blue. I've made them, sometimes my sons will use like a yellow and red and green and a cord of blue. So the only thing, and that would piss off a lot of religious people. But the command is make sure you have that cord of blue so that you remember the whole idea. You can go back to the scriptures. The whole idea for these tzitzit is not for it's not something for you to worship. It's something for you to remember the commandments. Can you change that HSBR to the scriptures version really quick?
Oops.
And then And then if you look, it says, it shall be for you at tzitzit, and you shall see it, and shall remember all the commands of Yehovah, and you shall do them, and not search after your own heart in your own eyes, after which you went whoring. Okay, so, and you shall do it to remember my commands, and be set apart to your Elohim. I am Yehovah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yehovah your Elohim. So, he's really trying to iterate that he's Yehovah, your Elohim. But to remember the commands, I had questions about this when I first started, because if you think about back then, they would wear undergarment robes and overgarment robes, and the tzitzit would be on the overgarment robes. And so if you think about that, for them to look upon the tassels and remember the commandments, they'd be walking around looking at their feet all the time, right? It doesn't really make sense. They would, in fact, it says something about don't let your head be, what's the word in English? Don't let your countenance fall. Okay, in other words, don't let your chin drop and looking all sad and stuff. So, I always had a question about this. So, am I supposed to walk around looking at my tzitzit with hanging off my pants? And what I've realized though is when you get into a group of people who are all wearing tzitzit, that's how you remember the commands. So, if you have a bunch of people that are following the Creator and they have these tzitzit, if I see somebody else wearing tzitzit, it's going to remind me of the commandments, right? It's not reminding them, it's reminding me because I'm seeing tzitzit on them. Like, oh, this is someone who understands that there's a set of rules that we should like treat others with respect. And yes, it should be commonplace, but it's good to have reminders, right? Because sometimes we get in our emotions and sometimes, crap happens. And that's the biblical term, crap. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So went off on that tangent. So buying seats or making them. Andrew Hoy is FE. Okay, so he does not make the claim of FE. Just to let you know. I'm not saying he doesn't believe it, but I'm saying he does not make the claim. All right? All right, and I guess you had to snipe somebody. Let's see. Kelly Jelly says, make your own, Alex. Yep.
There you go.
So nobody's got anything else? It's funny, on the days where we have a lot of meat. Tabernacle is a tent, is it not? Yes. I'm talking about the term, the word tabernacle. Yeah, it was designated specifically for the tent of meeting. It was a word invented just for that. Like, there's no other tabernacles out there. So for me to see others wearing it, oh yeah, for me, like that's what it was for me. When I started seeing other people with tzitzit, like, oh, I get it now. If I see tzitzit, it reminds me of the commandments, like legit. Like if I see somebody wearing tzitzit, I'm gonna think about them a certain way, and remember the commandments. And that chapter also, Numbers 15 also tells you that there's no distinction between the special boys. It says that it doesn't matter if you're native born or you join yourself to the Creator. You're all Yisrael. That's the truth of Israel. Fast Eddie said, new here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good tell. I mean, I've actually ran to people in public where, they were wearing tzitzit and a quarter blue, and I asked them, do you watch such and such a teacher or such and such a teacher? And they don't even know who I'm talking about. And that actually is encouraging to me, that people are not doing it because some man told them to. It's because they're actually living according to the scriptures. What is CC again? I don't.
It's seat. It's. You think he's talking about the tassel thing?
Okay, so go back there to Numbers 15.
Yeah.
38.
15. Boop.
38.
Here we go.
And then go to HSBR. And then tzitzit would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line down. Yeah, where it says fringes. So going from right to left, those Hebrew letters are tzadi, yod, tzadi, tav. Okay, so tzadi is kind of like a hi-hat sound, like right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the yod is usually used with the e sound, like an I, like machine. The I am machine, like that, like e. Okay, so tzit. So tzi is the first part, and then tzit, tzit. So
there you go.
There you go. Yeah, it's rooted in the word blossom as well. So that's interesting. All right.
I'm sorry. It's okay. We got you. I got you.
We are all from one of the 12 tribes, I believe. Okay. At this point, this is just Jack speaking, though. At this point, I think we're such mixed blood. I don't think anything I think everybody's got a little bit of something in them.
I know, right?
I think everybody's got a little bit of everything in them. So
everybody's
it's kind
all
of hard.
12.
I have a contention against the term lost 10 tribes, by the way. That's a theological invention. There's nothing in scriptures that verifies that there's lost tribes. I'm just saying, though.
Where does that come from then? If there's
It's a theological premise. So it's like, I can get into this even more, but so the lost 10 tribes are allegedly the northern kingdoms that were scattered throughout all the nations. But Judah's been scattered, Benjamin's been scattered, and what people often forget is there's a third set of people, which are the Levites. And the Levites were some in the northern kingdom, some in the southern kingdom, because they don't have an inheritance of land. So you would have half the Levites and some of the others, and the whole thing is like the lost tribes is not even it's not even a concept within the scriptures. It's just something that like somebody was trying to say, well, this tribe became this country and this tribe became that country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, CC are not specifically for men only. That's a confusion. It's human beings, right? It's not men specifically. Those who have breath. Okay, it's literally those who have breath. So where was I at? Oh, the 10 tribes thing. Yeah. So there's entire books, there's entire libraries based on the quote unquote 10 lost tribes, but it's not based in scripture. It's just their own interpretation of how this tribe became this country and this tribe became that country and so on. Now, am I saying that didn't happen? No, I'm not. But I'm saying at this point, we're all mutts, right? It's been so much intermingling and intermarrying and, lines being, there is no tribes anymore.
Is that maybe
Now,
that's how they got lost?
well, that's the thing. Like even lost tribes is not even a thing in the scriptures. So
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm just, what
yeah,
I'm saying. Like if everybody kind of became, if it all kind of got intermingled, then
yeah, everybody's lost, right? I mean, if somebody believes that the tribe of Judah still exists because of Jews, I have a very hard problem with that because they're not Judah. they're literally like European converts. They're not Judah.
Right.
So I have a big problem with that. And not only that, but they're converts of Judaism, not converts of Jehovah, not converts of Torah even. They're converts of Talmud, of Judaism. Has nothing to do with the tribe of Judah. Anyway, I'm doing a quick search here in the Bible. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't even find anything. There is a prophecy about the tribe of Judah will be grafted back into the tribes of Israel. So people think that because of, miscommunication of theology, they think that means everybody's going to become Jew. But it actually is supposed to be the other way around. Like Judah shall return to Israel. So Israel is the actual collection of those who follow the Creator, right? And it's saying there's going to be an end event where Judah will return to Israel, but we don't even know what that really means right now. In ancient times, you were very lucky to be chosen for the God. What does it mean to be very lucky? I don't understand the question. Please reword it. Sorry. Heard that Dominicans were part of the tribe. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've heard that Europe is one tribe, and oh yeah, Luck, Lucifer. Yeah, I've heard that before too. Like the word luck comes from the root of Lucifer. Tsitsi, all four. What do you have? It says the four corners. It's specified in Deuteronomy 22:12, I think. Hold on, I have to double check it. I would like to say I know where every verse is, but sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't. But most of the time I do. Praise Yah. All right, yeah. So Deuteronomy 22:12 says, "And let them make." Hold on, I'm going to change the translation here real quick. Make tassels on the four corners of the garment with which you cover yourself. So there are people who wear like prayer shawls, which is just like a piece of fabric over the shoulder, four corners. That is not the thing with which you cover yourself. Like you can't go out in public wearing just that, right? So that's why I put them on pants, because I actually cover myself with pants. I start a new pair, don't lose them too often. Yeah, like I said, I don't lose them at all because they're literally attached. They're gifted. That's the trigger for me. Like when I used to teach people as I was growing, right? Because I don't ever think that I have it like all together. But as I'm growing and I'm teaching people about the tzitzit, as I kept translating it for them, I kept giving myself new conviction. Because I used to start with wearing just a prayer shawl. Then I was wearing just a flap of fabric over my belt with 4 tzitzit. Then I started buying them. Then I started making them. And then I started gifting the made tzitzit to my garments. So it does say 4 corners, though. I separate them 4 corners. So howdy, everybody. Okay.
Hi, Earthica. Can embroidery thread be used? I don't think it's. Does it matter what kind of thread?
Nope.
Is it? Nope.
Nope.
Just about the color.
Actually, like embroidery thread. Excuse me. Embroidery thread. I used to start with embroidery thread because it was the only cotton I could find. I now use something called Sugar and Cream is the brand, and I use neon. The hot blue is the closest to Tachelle, I think, and yeah. So I've made tassels out of leather. I've made tassels out of linen. I've made tassels out of cotton. And I'm just a natural guy. I don't prefer polyester. I'm not I prefer natural materials. And I've seen people who have made metal tassels, like, they had a cord, like a metal cord, and then a blue cord in it. Is music evil?
No.
No. It's the whole thing about what is dysfunctional, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to music and it tends to inspire you to be angry and sad, and maybe that's not so good. I mean,
Yeah, I think it depends on the music.
but you can also use music to be very manipulative. Like churches use music to get people's emotions so that they can get people inspired to give money,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, or like when you watch movies, they put music that makes you feel scared or makes you feel
Yep.
suspense.
Oh yeah,
That sort of
I
thing.
mean,
So it's music. It's like a tool. Like you can. It's just like anything else. It can be good and it can be bad.
there's videos out there where they'll tell you about the power of music, where they'll show the same video clip and they'll play it with happy music and they'll play it with angry music and they'll play it with scary music, and you feel a different emotion while you're watching the exact same clip.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching the exact same clip, but just the inspiration of the music turns your thought process that kind of way.
Yeah.
Buddha in ancient stories also mention about pillars upholding heaven. Yeah, I think all sorry, I got to interrupt. Hey, baby, I hope you're having a good time in Florida. So, yeah, there's a lot of, all ancient religions come from the original source, right? And then it got spread out. It got, what's the word? Scattered, let's say, at the Tower of Babel. So when all the languages changed, like the names have been changed, but the stories are still the same. So, like when it talks about the inspiration of Nimrod becoming the sun god and dying and reincarnating and all that other stuff, that sun god worship has carried on with different names. But that was the religion that was to allegedly overcome the creator, right? We can build a tower to heaven and take over. Just by getting people on the same page, he was, overcoming the idea of the creator by having people worship the son instead. And that's why the creator says we need to stop them, or nothing will be held back from them, and they'll no longer be connected to the creator. Which is like, in modern terms, transhumanism is this thing, and even the cosmology that they push to us is the same thing. It's a new religion that takes the creator out of the equation, right? Yeah, I don't listen to Christian music anymore. I just can't. It turns my stomach, because I realize that Christianity is the hijacking of the scriptures, and it flips it 180 degrees. Play an experiment with music. Music equals frequency. Yep, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Taking Back Eden. Please put creator created the heaven. Don't put God. Irk. God is the prosperity deity of Babylon.
God's on the money.
That's right. That's why it says, in God we trust. Do seats need to be a particular length? No. They don't need to be a particular length. You don't need to knot them a certain way. You don't have to pray for every knot. None of that stuff that religions do is necessary. The only thing is a cord of blue in your tassel, 4 corners. Okay? There's another group of people who put the tassel all the way around the bottom of their shirt. And I think, well, it says 4 corners. So that's not really doing it for me. Yeah, for those who don't know, Just Carolyn is just my wife of Just Jack. So that's why I was like, yeah. Alrighty. Depending on chords, etc., frequency, megahertz is used to manipulate. It can be good or bad. Millions given to C. Smith to memorize and eliminate hymns were traditionally accepted. Yep. And I mean, there's a whole thing about like the organs in the cathedrals were like back in the day before it became like the agreed upon religion. People were actually getting healed by the music. So, the Just family. We try to be just. Where do you get your thread again? Craft store. I mean, I've actually ordered it from Amazon before. Evil Amazon. I mean, I get it wherever, but like I said, I'm a cotton fiend. So, if it's 100% cotton, I'm good. The cord of blue for me is kind of like a more on the blue side teal, because it's more like the sapphire. Like you got to think about what the sky used to look like before they started spraying. That's the color you're looking for. Or if you look at pictures of the sky and the ocean in tropical areas where it's like that glowing neon blue, that's kind of what you're looking for. That kind of color.
That shade of blue that you see in the water and the sky, that blue.
Yep. Yeah, and if you want another reference for what the color looked like, the most likely source of Tefillit is a plant called woad. And if you watch the end scene of Braveheart where he's like getting people all fired up, and he says, they can't take away our freedom,
Mm-hmm.
when he's wearing that blue face paint, that is actually made from woad. So that color is, I think it's called sugar and cream. Hold on, I can look it up real quick. Okay, so it's sugar apostrophe N cream. Sugar and cream. That's what I use. That is not the this is not the official CC string, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that I like the color and thickness of. It's just, yeah, it's what I use. Yeah, snail dials. Okay, I might as well get into it, Cami, since you put that up. Okay, so the reason that the Jews do not wear a cord of blue, oh my gosh, I said the J word. The reason that they do not wear a cord of blue is because one rabbi says it comes from a snail, and another rabbi says it comes from a squid, okay? And because they're arguing about if it comes from a squid or if it comes from a snail, since we can't agree on which animal the blue came from, then we're not going to wear any blue at all. So they only wear white tzitzit. So they don't wear blue at all, okay? Here's the problem. The problem is that the creator would not have them use an unclean animal that they destroy for the sake of some blue dye. It doesn't line up with anything else in the scripture. Both of those answers are bull. It's nonsense. All right. May Jehovah soften her heart and let her see these videos. And again, I'm trying really hard to not be so slangy in my words, but I'm real.
Yeah.
I'm not fake, so
I think people relate more when you are more genuine anyway.
yeah. Drop a couple S-bombs in there.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So I guess we're good.
I believe we are.
All right. Shabbat shalom, y'all, and we'll see you next week in the continuation of the construction of the tabernacle and its elements.
Yes, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you once again for joining us on Anti-Religious Scripture Study. Thanks for being here. We appreciate y'all.
Earth is still flat.
Earth is still flat. Absolutely.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.